Okay, let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Quiet on the set.
You guys can talk later. Anyways, on the 11th of May 2009, I received a photo radar ticket. My son was driving my truck in Arizona. I rejected their offer of contract, sent notice and demands to the court, the judge, and the mayor, and the case disappeared. In December of 2009, I was in a car accident in Arizona, and that's the one that I started to mention here. There's some really interesting things that come up about this, because some lady made an illegal left turn and broadsided me. Okay? And what happened was, I was in Pinal County. Remember, they sent a bounty hunter to my work? Mm-hmm. That was the town of Florence. Okay? The town of Florence is the county seat for Pinal County.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
Okay? Okay, so it's like 30 miles away, 20 miles away from where this accident happened. So I get the county sheriff. This was in the county area, so it wasn't city police that came. It was the county sheriff.
Right.
And I didn't have a Texas driver's license. I didn't give him any driver's license. Okay. And I showed him some court cases and saying there's no such thing as a driver's license under Texas law. And so this county sheriff was a deputy. He calls out his supervisor. There's a sergeant there, and they're talking. And the sergeant says to the deputy, he says, I guess there's no such thing as a driver's license under Texas law. Anyway, so I hear them. I give them the passport. I give them a passport for ID, right? And they pull up the straw man in their computer system and this warrant.
Right.
Okay, that's issued by this town of Florence. So that chief judge didn't quash the warrant, but she did something so they didn't come looking for me at work again. Okay, and now this is like, 2 or 3 years later, right? And so what happened was, I heard them reading the warrant or talking about the warrant over the radio, and then at the very end, they said, but we don't want to extradite. Well, I thought about that, and it only recently dawned on me that to extradite, it's a foreign jurisdiction, that's right. And they're basically saying that this guy is not a U.S. citizen, and we'd have to extradite him, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to talk to this guy. You see what I'm saying?
All along you weren't in the United States.
That's right.
They finally believed you.
Yeah. So anyways...
So wasn't the warrant from Texas?
No.
No, he said it was from right there.
It was from the town of Florence.
Oh, it's from there. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they didn't want to extradite.
So it would be county to municipal jurisdiction.
Well, no. It's from state of Arizona to United States.
Municipal
Right?
government does.
That's an
Right?
extradition.
He's saying it's municipal, federal.
So they said they didn't want to extradite.
No,
So
I meant like city, like the city.
So those county sheriffs, they told me I needed to take care of this, but I drove away that day.
The other thing is the warrant was 3 years old, right?
Yeah, it was. But that's
Usually after 1 year.
they're actually, the city attorney sent me a letter, told me that thing is going to stay out there forever.
Yes.
And every time I got a job, I work in classified military programs and that kind of stuff. And every time I got a job, this warrant would show up, right? They'd say, but that's okay, you can work. But they say, because I'd always ask for a copy of the background check, right? And it'd always come up clean except for that warrant. And they'd say, but that's okay, you can work. And and that's when I worked on the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter program and other programs. Anyway, so what happened was, with that particular case, I was in New York working, working at Atlas Airlines at the time, and I was just there on a little time off period, and so I hired an attorney, and I got a lawyer, and he was handling it, and so it went on for 2 years. And there's a statute of limitations for 2 years, so then he had to file a lawsuit. And so then I get a phone call. So I had issues with my back because of that. Okay, and I was going to, yeah, and I was going to see chiropractors, and I basically had sciatica, and I had pains going down my leg and shooting into my foot, and I could hardly. Matter of fact, I had to leave that job in New York because I couldn't sit down. Anyways, so what happened was these guys, this lawyer, calls me up in New York one day and says, they're offering you $26,000. It's a scream of a deal. I think you ought to take it, and it's a good deal. And so I sent him one of my notice and demands. And in the second paragraph of my notice and demand, it says, if you think you're representing me, you're fired. So he took it as being fired, and he said, no problem. He filed a withdrawal from the case and into the court and the whole 9 yards. Okay? And so I called him up, and I said, well, I didn't really want to fire you, but I just wanted to make sure you know who I am. And he said, that's okay. We don't want to be in it anyways. So I said, okay, that's fine. And so what I did was, I about this time I got laid off from that job. So, and I was having problems with my back. I could hardly walk. So I actually went to see my sister-in-law in Canada, and she gave me this homemade Comfrey Salve. She's an herbalist. Okay, she cures cancer and stuff like that all the time. She does a live blood analysis, shows you your blood under the microscope, and then tells you what's wrong. And she said, "Oh, she says you got some thinning in your back," and she gave me this homemade Comfrey Salve that she makes herself. Actually, my brother makes it. She tells him what to do, and he makes it. And
He's a pharmacist and she's the doctor.
Whatever. They can't sell it. They can't sell it over the counter.
You can't claim it cures cancer.
They can't. They can't sell it over the counter because it's not dead.
Right.
So she has it available. If people ask for it, it's available. But it's not on display,
She can't promote it.
and just people know about it and ask for it.
Yes.
And there's people that call her, and she ships it all over. Anyways, so what happened was, I for 2 weeks I put that stuff on my back morning and night, like she said. Actually, I did it for 2 weeks, but she said I should do it for, a month or two. But after 2 weeks, all of that stuff went away, and I haven't had any problems since. And I used to go to the chiropractor 2 or 3 times a year all my life since I was 12 years old. I was in a car accident when I was 8, and from 12 years old on, I remember not being able to stand up straight walking down the street when I was 12 years old. And so I've had back problems all my life. And I'd have to go to chiropractors, get adjustments, and then I'd be fine. Anyways, after I got that, Comfrey Salve, and if my back starts feeling stiff, I just put a little bit of Comfrey Salve on there. I haven't been to a chiropractor since 2011.
Good.
And I doubt I'll ever go to one again. And I just put the Comfrey Salve on there, and I'm 100%. You know what I mean? And actually, I don't even get a stiff back anymore. But so what happened was, I went to Texas, and I went to Arizona too, because I met the lawyer that was handling it. It was for the Hartford, which is the insurance company.
Oh, right.
And so I actually talked to him, and what he was doing is he was spelling my name in all block capital letters and sending stuff to zip codes and all that stuff. And I sent him a notice and demand, and then I told him basically that you're violating copyright, and you're, by sending it to a zip code, you're committing a felony. And I got him trained. He quit using all block capital letters, upper and lower case. This is exactly how I wanted it, with no zip code, the whole 9 yards. The mail was getting to me, no problem. Anyway, so what I did was, first of all, he told me, he says, well, you have to do a request for disclosure. Or a disclosure is what it was. And he said, we're going to send you a request for disclosure, and you just pattern it after like that. And he says, first of all, I'm not representing you. But you just pattern it like that. And the lawyer had done all the research. They had collected everything I needed. And so I had this box like this full of like there was all sorts of medical bills from my chiropractor and all this stuff, right? The lawyer had collected all that stuff. And so they just gave it all to me. And I said, when they took over, I said, well, you must have some expenses in this. What's your expenses? And they said $350. So I gave him $350, and it was, you know, I compensated him for what he had put into it. And so anyway, so then what I did was I did that request for disclosure, and it was about that thick because of all of the receipts and everything. And one of the things in there that they had given me was a statement saying that their insurance was limited to $100,000.
We'll take that.
And what happened was I didn't know about the uninsured motorist and the underinsured motorist coverage that you can get and that everybody has.
Yes.
And so I didn't take that into account. But I could show because prior to that accident, I was making X amount of dollars doing aerospace engineering consulting, and after that accident, I was making about $75,000 a year less. And so for 3 years, that's $225,000, right? And then plus the medical bills. So the lawyer had prepared all of the stuff I needed to show the $75,000 less or the $225,000. The lawyer had prepared it all for me. So I had actually provided it to the lawyer, but it was all included in everything they gave me, right? Because it was just tax returns for American Engineering Services, the LLC that I manage.
Best $350 you ever spent.
Right.
Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what I did then was I did the request for disclosure. They had told me their insurance limit was $100,000. I went and put in the $225,000 in lost compensation for labor. I called it compensation for labor. And plus the medical bills, you know, I think it was like $300,000 or something total. No, it wasn't that. I think the medical bills came to like $20,000 or something. Anyways, so what happened was I did the request of disclosure, and it had all of that. And then at the very beginning, there's a summary, and I could show you. I got it in here. But there's a summary that basically tells them that, you know, what the summary is. You know, the medical bills, the lost compensation for labor, and all of that. Anyway, so then what happened was I let that sit for 30 days. Then I sent them a request to admit. And I requested them to admit. It was about 30 pages. And I was going down through, you know, that the Hartford's a bank, and they leverage everything by 30 times. So every day, every 90 days, they leverage the amount that they would send me, and by 30 times, and they're leveraging it and pocketing it. And I request you to admit that you're a bank. I request you to admit that, you know, and it was about 30 pages, and I basically built a case like that, okay? And that I'm one of the people, and they're involved in sedition and treason by, you know what I mean? I mean, I just built a case for all sorts of stuff. Anyways, so I sent them this request to admit. It was about 30 pages long. And then I let them sit on that for 30 days. And then I sent them a offer to settle. And I offered to settle for $100,000. And then I let them sit on that for 30 days. And then I called up the lawyer. And
the lawyer that you had?
No, actually, in the meantime, they'd assigned it to a different lawyer. That's a good point. They'd assigned it to another lawyer that I had dealt with that deals with people like me. Okay? And so I'd assigned it to another lawyer when I sued the town of Florence, right? Remember, I filed a lawsuit against them, right? Well, the same lawyer, it was the same law firm that wound up with that case. Okay? Different lawyer, same law firm. So, anyways, so they got all this stuff. I let them sit on it for 30 days. I call up the lawyer. And I said, hi, this is Glenn Whittingham. And they immediately, they took over the conversation. They said, oh, we got your request to admit. We got your disclosure, and we got your offer to settle. She said, is there any figure below 100,000 that you'll settle for? And I said, I don't know, make me an offer. I was kind of needing the money at that point.
Yeah,
And
I know.
within 2 weeks, I had a check for 75,000. They offered me 75,000, and at that point, I just wanted to get it settled. But that's 3 times what that lawyer had offered me, and I didn't pay the lawyers 30%.
Right.
So that's one case, and I never went into court. I signed some documents, you know what I mean, that got filed into the court, and that's it.
Well,
But I never set foot in
I
court.
took a check from an accident and I put under duress for the settlement. I said, and I sent them a bill for significantly more. And so I believe that since I put that under duress, and it was a situation under duress that they were party to, that I could reopen that.
Well, and with my case, in hindsight, I find out, because this dealing with this friend of mine that I have that's watching his mother was in a car accident, and he's trying to help her get a settlement, and so he is. That's where I got the idea of the underinsured motorist, because he's going after this guy that she got in a car accident with, had a limit on insurance, but he had the underinsured motorist coverage, and he had the underinsured motorist coverage.
Right.
And so right. So he's trying to
go after them personally as well.
he's trying to get, yeah, that's true. But he's trying to get something for that underinsured motorist coverage. And so I could have done that in hindsight. So 100,000 was letting him off the hook. I could have told him, I told him I need the 100,000. You know what I mean?
Or you could have came back with like 95.
I could have.
And then they would counter offer.
I could have.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's right. I could have done a lot of things.
Because
And
if they
it-
offer 75, they're thinking we'll probably settle for 85.
Yeah, might have.
Yeah.
And so, but the bottom line is that I just wanted to settle the thing. I just took the offer, and I had the check. Within 2 weeks, I had that check, and I went to this bank. I drove to this bank, and I had a bank account in Southern Utah. It was State Bank of Southern Utah, and I went in there, and I had a $75,000 check I was depositing into this account, right? And I said, I deposited it, and they said, well, we're going to hold funds. And I said, this is from an insurance company. And I said, I just sued them, and they settled. And do you want to be next? and the clerk, they didn't have any control. And so anyways, they said they were going to hold funds for 8 days. And so then I sent an email to the CEO, and I told him, I said, I just deposited this check for $75,000. I sued this insurance company. I won. They settled. They gave me $75,000. I want the funds released now, or you're next. And immediately it was released. And so
They get the funds
Normally
that
like
day.
that,
yeah.
Not on
They
a
get the funds
draft.
that day.
Not on a draft, they don't. Insurance companies issue drafts, not checks.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be within 2 days. It's supposed to clear.
normally
On
like
a
that.
check, but not a draft.
Not-
See, your signature on a draft goes back, and that acts as a final release, okay? When they get that, then they release the funds. That's how a draft works in lieu of a check.
Oh, I didn't know.
Depending on your relationship with the bank, they may release some of the money right.
But they did release some of it right away, but they were going to hold some. And it, by the time, I didn't take it all out at once anyways.
Yeah.
It was a small bank, so I just started writing checks on it. And so they might have they had the funds for several days anyways.
Yeah, I'm sure they-
But, it was no problem.
I got an
You got an
insurance settlement.
executive override.
There you go.
I got an insurance settlement one time for my boy in an accident, and I put a restrictive endorsement on the back of the draft, identifying this was partial payment of dollars in lieu of dollars. They still owed me,
Oh, really?
a monetary amount. They went bonkers. Oh, gee. I never, pushed it, but the reaction I got was, they understood. Because the settlement was in dollars, but the check wasn't in dollars.
Right.
The check might say dollars, but it isn't dollars anyway.
Well, you're right, exactly.
But what I put on the back, I'm glad you brought that up, because what I put on the back of my checks is, or not mine, but ones that I received, is received for credit on account
Yeah,
or exchanged for, in this case, Federal Reserve notes.
right.
Non-redeemable Federal Reserve
That's right,
notes.
at face value.
What I use is simple, is for deposit only, par value unknown. And I've been doing that for probably 5 years or more, and no IRS, nothing.
Yeah, because it's a non-taxable event.
Yeah, it's all saying the same thing. I know some people that receive for lawful money pursuant to 12 U.S.C. 411.
Right. Redeem
So
something.
you're basically
Well, not Tom Murphy. There's another guy that teaches something similar to that.
Right.
David Merrill.
it's
Right.
you're basically making it a qualified endorsement, anyways, no matter what. And so that's all that matters. Now another thing that happened was Nelson my son would get stopped when he's driving my truck, and they would never give him a ticket. They'd say, "Who owns this truck?" And they'd say, "Well, my dad does." And they'd say, "Well, you better be more careful when you're driving."
Be more careful. Be more
That's right.
I wasn't driving.
On the 22nd of February 2010, the Arizona DPS sent their straw man a photo radar ticket. And what I did was I sent notice and demands to the DPS officer, the Director of Public Safety, the Attorney General, and the judge. I filed a criminal. I didn't even wait for them to respond. I just went ahead and filed a criminal complaint against all of them for perjury of oath, treason, and sedition to the Constitution. And they canceled the photo radar program.
The whole program?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they've done that in a lot of states.
Yeah.
What year was that?
That was 2010. And the Arizona Attorney General is no longer in office. He was replaced by Tom Horn, a former judge, which is not surprising. And they sent me notice that they're canceling the straw man's driver's license. There's the notice. It says, "We have received correspondence from you in June 2010 regarding your affidavit of criminal complaint. Your request has been denied." And that's the courts. Okay, that's the thing from the courts. And then here, this is the photo radar ticket. They scribbled this out. Okay, this is how I got it. This is from the court, and it says here where the scribble out. They scribbled that stuff out. The top stuff that they scribbled out. It says, "I undersigned. I understand that failure to pay with this payment order may result in issuance of a warrant for my arrest, and imprisonment till it is paid, suspension of my driver's license." It's kind of hard to read some of it.
You might be able to increase it by doing Control Plus.
And then, well, it's not that, it's kind of fuzzy. Anyways, and then the bottom scribbled part is, "A warrant for your arrest may be issued by the court." So they're scribbling out the stuff that says anything about a warrant.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so,
And let me see it.
yeah.
Instead of rewriting it.
Well, it's one of their standard forms, pretty much.
Yeah. Oh, there it is, right there.
Yeah.
And it's
Driving
easy
is
to
a
read.
privilege which
"I understand that failure to comply with this payment order may result in issuance of a warrant for my arrest and possible imprisonment until the fine is paid and/or suspension of my driver's license." And then the bottom is, "A warrant for your arrest may be issued by the court. If arrested, you'll be taken to jail and held until you post a bond and/or see the judge. Additional applicable fees may be added without notice." They scribbled that stuff out.
But how did you respond?
I didn't.
He had already responded.
I had already
They had
responded.
dismissed the case.
I had filed a criminal complaint against them.
There we-
And then after this, then you got a notice of dismissal?
No.
What was the amount due there?
I got this.
281?
I got this saying that they wanted $251 in extortion.
Right?
That was one,
And the reason
One
they got,
infraction.
what happened was I was driving a rental car. So they got my name and all that from the rental car company.
that was one infraction, Glenn?
Yeah.
Just one?
Red light.
Speeding.
Oh, speeding, no.
But how did you rent a car without a valid driver's license?
Well, I do have, my straw man has a driver's
Oh,
license.
I see.
See, it's actually kind of nice because in Arizona, you don't have to renew them every 5 years. It's like I got it, my son got his, and it doesn't expire until he turns 65, so it's good for like 40 years.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah. No, Arizona. Arizona. This one was issued in 2001, and it doesn't expire till 2022.
How nationwide?
21 years?
Yeah.
New York is 8 years.
Ours is every 5 years.
Yeah, I know most of them are.
Now,
But-
you
Violence every 2 years.
fill out or apply
Every 2 years?
for,
But it's not mine.
Like,
They never
I
ask
think they use it to-
for the straw man's driver's license, okay? That's assessed to K
Right,
trust
so
on there.
you say, I don't have a driver's license.
So I
it's
don't
just
say I
right.
have one. I don't have one.
It's a
And
trust
I don't.
statement.
I don't.
but your,
It's like I don't have a
that
social
driving
security
license, did you
number.
apply for that individually, or did you
Well, my
have
slave
to
does.
hand in your Texas driving license and do?
I never had a Texas driver's license.
So
Well, Veronica
you
gives
basically
it.
got
I
a
say,
driving
anybody
test
who,
and applied
is
and
a
went through the
slave
process
is
to
Veronica
get that
gives it.
license in Arizona?
Yeah, say you don't.
Actually, at the time, I think I had it's like 2001. It's been a while, but I think I had a Canadian one.
Okay,
That means
so
you're
you
not
would have done
competent
just
to
a
hold your job.
transfer.
Yeah, right. You just show them it, and they just basically.
No, not anymore, they snatch that one off you and that
Not
one
the
gets
Canadian
sent
one.
on. What they do?
Oh,
Oh,
really?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
you don't do that
interesting.
anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's one of those
Because-
guys-
I don't have a Canadian one anymore, anyways.
Yeah,
But
it's on national record, so you only need one in any one place, you know, because that's on the national database.
yeah,
So you only need to
yeah,
have one.
yeah. It's New World Order. They're all talking to each other.
Right.
I'm of the opinion that you should never, you know, if you're going to offer license or registration, you should never offer the original. Get a certified copy. They take it, they give you a hassle, now you don't have it, you know. No, seriously, you know.
Certified copy. Isn't that
Right,
interesting?
certified copy, yeah. You gotta chase it down.
That's interesting.
Why
Where
do the
are you
original?
gonna get a certified copy from?
You just make a copy.
Make
of
one.
yours,
Get a
and
notary.
notarize it.
You just get a notary to certify this is a true and correct copy.
You can make a statement that I certify this is a true copy of, you know, a driver's license, or however you want to define it,
Then my
and have it
slave-
notarized.
Then my slave.
Are you giving-
are you giving them a copy
of
Here, get a load of this.
license?
Yeah, you can do that.
Get a load of this.
Throw it back. You don't have to give them the original.
This is the Arizona Department of Transportation. This was in 2010 again, and it says, "Dear Sir, Madam, I wonder if it gets bigger." Nope. Okay. The Office of Inspector General has discovered a discrepancy with your Arizona driver's license or non-operating identification card record. It's important that you contact our office immediately to resolve this matter and to prevent further problems with your license. No response to this request will result in your license being canceled or other appropriate criminal charges being filed. Well, none of that happened. Please contact the Office of Inspector General to schedule an appointment. If you're on your appointment day, you may need to bring your original documents. So I told them I wasn't a U.S. citizen. If you're not born in the United States or not a citizen of the United States of America, also be prepared to provide one or the following. Anyways, and so never responded to that, but that's what they sent me. And I was in the DMV like how long ago? Probably 3 months ago, registering a vehicle under the name of an LLC that I manage in Arizona. So I had to show them that. No problem.
Well, they stopped me from registering a car under a trust.
Well, I don't know what the reason was, but whatever. I mean,
They said, oh, you can't do that. That's what they said when I bought the car. So the DMV
what state?
in Florida.
What kind of a trust? How do you know? Did you have, because anytime I've done it, they wanted to have proof that the trust actually exists. And what I do is, part of my procedure is I record a public notice of debt disclaimer for the trust into the county, and I just give them that, and they accept that, no problem.
I did a declaration of trust. In the county, it's recorded, and I
Really?
brought that to the person I was buying the car from.
I would never record that.
A declaration of trust?
Yeah, that's private. I've never
No,
recorded
the
that.
declaration of trust only has that which protects my rights. It doesn't have the entire trust.
Oh, it doesn't have the contract. Well, that's
Oh,
good.
no,
That's
no.
good.
No. It's like there's an 11-page trust,
Right.
and there's a 1-page declaration of trust.
Okay, okay,
And I'm
okay. That's
recording
okay.
the 1-page declaration,
Okay.
and on it tells them what my private property is.
Okay, well, that's okay. I
And it
mean,
tells them my religion, and this is based on my religion,
uh-huh.
and this is my private property.
And they wouldn't let you record it under that trust.
No, and then what they did was then they recorded it under my straw man, and it was the company that I bought the car from, and this impaired my, and when I contacted and demanded stuff from the state, they wouldn't let me renew my license via computer, because I claimed that I wasn't a U.S. citizen, so it, all of that
Well, I understand that.
kicked out my ability to renew my license.
Yeah, well, they will do that. And that's not surprising. That's why I haven't, mine doesn't renew, so I kind of like that, because I'm not planning on renewing it either. But I'll be right back. I got to use the restroom real quick.
Did you ask why they wouldn't do it in the name of the trust?
No, actually,
Were
and
you
they also,
there as trustee?
yeah, well, no, but I put a letter to the, demanding that the Commissioner of Motor Vehicle and Safety, either pay for this or invalidate the contract for fraud with and send somebody to prosecute to get my money back. And if they didn't do that they owed me money, $15,000 for the car.
I think if you're gonna use the name of the trust, you have to be trustee.
I am a trustee.
But did you tell them you're there as trustee?
Yes.
When you signed, did you
I
sign
signed it as trustee,
Yeah.
yes.
But I would have asked them why. What's the flaw?
I have not done a criminal complaint yet.
No, you're not doing
And
a complaint. You're just asking why
And the
not.
whole point is I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, because one of the things is the governor of Florida in
No, I understand all that.
and
Election
Bondi,
coming up and all that. Yeah.
and I don't with the elections coming up.
Right, but this has nothing to do with that. This is just asking them
Oh,
why.
no, I hear what you're saying, and I wanted to get this information before I pursued all of that.
Yeah, so that would
I've
be
made
the
enough
question,
mistakes.
is why won't they do it? There's lots of states that will if Florida won't. I'm surprised that Florida doesn't.
Depends
Yeah,
on the clerk
but
you're dealing with as well. I had a similar problem in Tennessee.
Yeah, but I
Another clerk.
can't pass the
Right.
eye test
Another
right
county.
now.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Massachusetts, for a while there, they wouldn't let you register if you didn't have a driver's license. And the trust wouldn't have a driver's license, so you couldn't register. But I think somebody might have done with that. They may allow it now.
But also-
They allow it under, for LLCs and DBAs and all that.
Right.
And I'm sure
right.
they allow for a trust either.
Right.
Also.
Right. I've never seen had a problem actually. It's, a trust under international law. There's a treaty that all nations will recognize trusts. So they can't sit there and say that we don't recognize that. The United States has signed on to that treaty.
Oh, I know that. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that went along with it because of the fact that I got the governor and I got half of the state on notice that they could all be criminally and personally liable for all of this, and that they're
Well, so it's probably more to do with you than the trust.
yeah, but it has to do with the fact that they're obstructing me, and I mentioned the fact that they're obstructing me from probating the estate of my mother, which is part of that trust.
Right.
And the estate of we have we're trying to probate the.
So it's
the city of
sounds
San
like
Francisco is $4.8
it's
trillion.
probably-
sounds like it's got more to do with
It's
you and what you're doing than it
No,
does.
it's probably because the trust is in probate.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. But anyways, so this is an internet
Yeah,
article
went to prison.
where it talks about the Arizona shutting down the freeway speed cameras. So in July of 2010, the city of Lethbridge, police stopped me and gave me their straw man ticket, a ticket for no driver's license. There's no require in Alberta for a living soul to get a driver's license. I filed 3 criminal complaints against them, then filed a petition of right in the Queen's Bench with the criminal complaints attached. And that's been an ongoing thing. The perjurer on the bench entered a plea for their straw man and set it down for trial. I told them in my criminal complaints that I do not take orders from criminals and will not appear for their show trial. I did not appear for their show trial. They convicted their straw man and the fine was $172, the same as the ticket. I called up the clerk and asked if they had issued a warrant, and they said no. And they said it would be handled by the motor vehicle department. In other words, what they do is they, on the citation, it says, if you fail to respond to this offense notice as required by law by the appearance date indicated above, or if you plead not guilty and fail to appear in person or by agent on your trial date, you will be deemed not to dispute the charge and you will be convicted of the offense in your absence without a hearing. If you're convicted until the fine plus any late payment penalties are paid in full, you will not be allowed to obtain or renew a driver's license. What to do? I don't want their driver's license anyways.
Are the filings
registration
very similar in Canada as they are here?
Sorry?
Your approach to the court, are filings very similar in Canada as they are here?
Yeah, except that the county recorder, it's in Canada, is called land titles, and it's really hard to get anything recorded there except maybe land titles. And they have a miscellaneous category, but there's nobody that's administrating them and forcing them to file stuff that's miscellaneous. They have the category. I've been down there and talked to them about it.
But what do they have? What do they call a slave in D.C.? They have you have there's a very specific chattel.
Yeah, right, chattel.
You can record chattel property.
Yeah, that's in the PPSA, the Personal Property Security Act. You can do it there. I haven't tried that. That's in Canada. But I'm not sure what their procedures are, but I've heard that's similar to the UCC here, the Personal Property Security Act. So that's a thought that a lot of people have.
That's actually the same as, that's your property, the same as land.
Yeah, I suppose. I haven't tried it. That's something to consider.
No, chattel is other than land. Land is that part of your estate.
Yeah,
Right.
chattel is everything else.
Like your children,
Yeah,
your wife,
yeah.
your straw man, that's all your
Corporeal
chattel
assets versus incorporeal.
This is proof that they know that they have no authority. This is proof that it is nothing more than a commercial transaction.
Were you physically in Alberta at this point?
Well, when the Lethbridge police stopped me, I was.
Okay. And then would the special appearance tactic have solved that, do you think?
He was telling us about Vic Beck doing that,
Vic Beck.
and Vic Beck is in Ontario.
So yes.
So yes.
So this could be a
Absolutely.
silver bullet that
Absolutely.
maybe they can't have
It's-
a defeat with.
It's commercial. It's all come from the UN. There's no difference between what's going on here and what's going on in Canada.
or South America.
Or South America. Right. It's all uniform commercial code.
Unidart. If they're
Unidroit,
Unidroit,
exactly.
right,
Exactly.
they're under the same.
There are at least 2 and possibly more classes of citizenship in all common law countries. The government's made perfectly good laws, which are technically correct 99% of the time. Because we have given our servants in the government the right to presume certain things, the burden's now on us to defeat those presumptions. The best way to defeat any presumption is to go on the attack. Presumptions are taken in martial law. The fact they are presuming anything is proof you're in a martial law jurisdiction and they have no authority. Right now we have provided the government a reason to believe that we're not sovereign. The government is operating on the assumption based on prima facie evidence that we are self-provided. This is a U.S. Supreme Court case. Protects government. Qualified immunity protects governmental officials from liability for civil damages insofar as their conduct does not violate clearly established statutory and constitutional rights of which a reasonable person would have known.
But that does not include criminal conduct.
That's
They're
true.
not immune from.
That's true.
Right? They're
Qualified immunity, that's true. Qualified immunity defense fails if public officer violates clearly established right because of a reasonably competent official should know the law governing his conduct. A plaintiff who seeks damages, that's why, but you've got to use the words that they use. In other words, false arrest, not unlawful arrest. Unlawful arrest is worthless. But false arrest shifts the burden of proof onto them to prove that it was a lawful arrest. Qualified immunity defense fails if public officer, we read that. A plaintiff who seeks damages for violation of constitutional rights or statutory rights may overcome the defendant's official's qualified immunity only by showing that those rights where it clearly established at the time of the conduct and issue. In other words, if you served him a notice and demand by registered mail, you got proof that he got it, and now he's got a problem. We have to build a prima facie case that it is admissible as evidence in the court that we are the king. In today's world, in order to be truly sovereign, you must be prepared to force the issue up to and including court. In Rome, they had slaves because they were not prepared to live free or die. In the modern world, you do not have to die for your freedom, but the attitude helps. So, number one is educate yourself. And we're in this position because our parents and grandparents did not understand the issues. You've got to study out the issues. Number two, the buck stops here. Your ultimate responsibility rests with you. You must accept responsibility for your own actions. You must prepare for your future. Sovereign citizens receive nothing from the government. Sovereign people, actually. Citizen is kind of an oxymoron, sovereign. But sovereign people receive nothing from the government. If you do nothing, then you're at least partially responsible when they violate the next guy's rights. All it takes for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. So, again, that's a burden. If you know, once we've had our rights violated, then we have a cause of action. I don't have a cause of action when they violate his rights. He has the cause of action. I cannot defend his rights. He has to be the one to defend his rights.
By defending yours, you're kind of helping defend.
Exactly. When my rights get violated, that's the reason I go after them like I do. Because it helps everybody.
Makes other battles easier.
The important thing is do something. It's not necessary to use the forms as they are. Make up your own if you want. The following process builds a track record and a case showing your assertion, which is admissible as evidence in court. They already know you're sovereign. Believe me, they know. They know they don't have a shred of authority over a man.
Well, why wouldn't they want to just not be, is it because they're just happy with their lifestyle?
Because they're thieves and pirates. That's
It's
really
been
what it
well
comes down
enough.
to. Boris talks about it.
Because very few people have
All in
money.
it.
Yeah.
You can't
Absolutely.
let the monkey out of the cage. You're not supposed to get a free banana.
They're thieves and pirates.
No, not just that, but it's been working very well with that.
Well,
Yeah, they've been
it has.
getting away with it.
It has.
Yeah.
All these brain dead idiots out there are getting fleeced all the time.
And
So we got one guy that comes in. We can't let him find out the truth.
It's like the story that I told you with Carl Lentz. We found notices of idiot into the court, and there was one time somebody was in court and he was telling the judge the whole time, "I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot," and the judge doesn't know what to do. So finally he just starts berating him and says, "Get out of my courtroom, you idiot!" And he walked out. He was happy to leave, right? And then the judge is still sitting there. He goes, "Any other idiots in here?" And everybody goes. And nobody speaks up. When they should have all gone, "Yeah, I'm an idiot. Get out!" Because we don't know the meaning of idiot.
means you don't understand the legal system.
Idiot
No,
is you're a layman or outsider. It doesn't mean you're a moron.
It derives from the Latin idios, which means I'm God, I'm king. That's what it means.
Well, that's something to consider.
Why has that guy says an idiot? Well, what's wrong with him? Oh, no, I'm not going to say I'm an idiot. And what you want is you want to be thrown out. Thank you. See you later.
Thanks. See ya.
The one thing I did say yesterday was good. I said to him, "Do you understand what we're doing?" I said, "Yeah, I understand that you are operating a commercial operation."
Yeah, we already told you
That's
that
right.
wasn't good.
Yeah, it's just business. I said, "Yeah, you're operating a commercial," so I understood, and he agreed with me.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
that's fine. So he agrees that they're operating a commercial business.
That's right.
So now, but the thing is, he's never had so many complaints to see if they're
Yep.
licensed to do so.
I would have said I don't understand anything that you
So we're going to educate them, and they're going to be a lot nicer to Nelson after this, because they're going to know that, you know.
Are we doing a
Anyways.
field trip tomorrow?
We have to.
Okay, so this procedure builds a case against your public servant for multiple felonies. They will never do anything that comes close to admitting that they committed multiple felonies. If this procedure is done properly, the system will take care of your problem for you. You will rarely get a response. You have to learn to read between the lines if they send you a response. If they do not send a response, then they have acquiesced. When we get back over there, I'll show you my briefcase. When I sent one to a county sheriff in New York, what happened was I got a letter back from their risk management department.
So I told Boris last night.
Yeah.
Risk management. You gotta
Well,
go to.
and that's
At the
perfect.
city.
It was a complaint form. If you have a complaint, fill out the form.
It's a claim.
Well, I had no
It's not a complaint, a claim.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
The county sheriff hadn't done anything to me, but that's a perfect answer. You see what I'm saying? That's a perfect answer if you think about it. If you have a complaint, file a complaint. Anyways, how I developed the system. The foreclosure in Arizona, disturbing the peace, I sent out hundreds, literally hundreds, thousands of registered letters. Notice and demand is common law. Notice is common law. You're giving them notice, and you cannot hold them responsible until you give them notice. Demand, sovereign's demand, it's not negotiable, it's not a request, it's a demand, and it's now. Another thing that you could do is a requirement. Okay? Carl Lentz calls it a requirement.
No,
And that's
require. Not requirement, require.
he requires.
I require.
That's right.
And he decrees.
Decrees.
Yeah, he decrees. Like, if you're a sovereign, if you're the king, you decree.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, right.
so
But the only person who can establish laws is the sovereign, right?
We use I require.
I know, but if you decree,
Yeah.
I use I require and decree.
decree is
I order, require, and decree.
decree is in an equitable court. Okay? The courts of equity decree.
I know, but what happens is you don't know which jurisdiction they're trying to switch you back and forth in.
Oh, I know.
By order, require, and decree, which covers all of the jurisdictions.
Okay, that's fine. But at
That's
any
what
rate,
I'm ordering.
so this is called an administrative procedure. It's also common law. It gives notice to the authorities about your assertion and gives them an opportunity to rebut it. And it defeats their presumptions. Notice and demand, it's an oath of office. The first paragraph is oath of office. The oath is to all of we the people. And so you get a copy of their oath or give them an oath. Either way, if you give them an oath, then sometimes I give it to them, or sometimes I just say I accept your oath. The oath of office supersedes everything. They have no duty to any corporation. So when you tell them I accept your oath of office, you're saying I'm a man. And I have a right to accept your oath of office. They have no duty to any corporation. The oath of office is your trump card. Equality unto the law. That's another paragraph I put in there. Okay, this is essentially saying if you're going to send me to a mental institution, you have to go there too. This defeats a strategy, that strategy of putting you in a mental hospital. Competence, incompetence. They are making you incompetent by making a legal determination for you or representing you. They're saying you're incompetent. And so they're making that legal determination for you. So you're telling them right up front, you're not competent in my affairs, and I am competent in my affairs. When you make application for anything, you're giving them a power of attorney. You're telling them you're incompetent. Copyright's optional. A common law copyright's one of the most powerful things you can do, but it's not mandatory for this procedure. A copyright's a major deterrent since they're in business to make a profit. By providing notice that your straw man's name is copyrighted, if they use the name, it's essentially an offer of contract. All you have to do is accept their offer of contract, send them an invoice, and then proceed against them with a commercial lien.
But you said that really wasn't effective, correct?
It's not, the criminal complaints are way more effective. But I still do the copyright because maybe at some point it'll start working. Maybe once Trump gets things settled out. You know what I mean?
Or you get to the right jurisdiction.
Yeah. Make them communicate under penalty of perjury, and that's another thing I do is I tell them if you or your subordinates want to communicate with me, it's required that they're under penalty of perjury. So they're not going to communicate under penalty of perjury because they lie.
Verbal or written?
That's written. That's in the notice and demand.
But didn't someone say that they have the right to lie?
Yeah, there's tons of case law that
Not
they
the
can
right.
That's why.
Oh, they
This
can
will
lie.
cancel that out though.
That's-
if you're giving
that's-
them notice.
that's
they can
why-
no longer stand
That's
behind it.
exactly
That's
why
right.
he puts that in, because
That's right.
there are no liars.
Because they're not they're required to tell the truth. If you got to make it under penalty of perjury. You want to communicate with me, I want to see it under penalty of perjury. Otherwise, you violated this, and that's one of the things I bill them for. Okay, criminally converting my name, making an unlawful legal determination for me, or communicating in a way that's not under penalty of perjury. Those are 3 things that it creates a billable event. Chain of command lets them know you're going to hold everybody responsible on your chain of command personally. That's another thing I tell them, and it's in those notice and demands. Addresses, zip codes, and postal codes are martial law. If you live in do you live in a martial law jurisdiction? Under 18 U.S.C. 1342 is about using fictitious address, fictitious names for mailing purposes as a felony. And so they're committing a felony when you bring it up to them and you're telling them this is a fiction. That was the complaint I had against the Pennsylvania Attorney General, and they sent it to the FBI for investigation, and next thing you know, that Pennsylvania Attorney General's out of there. Make it very clear up front that you're not interested in being a surety or accommodation party. If they ever get you into one of their so-called contracts, this is another piece of proof of their perjury of oath, and that's exactly what they're doing. No driver's license. If they do not argue about this, then they've given you permission. A driver's license is color of law. No authority to require one. If you do not have a driver's license, even though your straw man might have one. Picture identification, make your own, or get NSCA or common law ID. Record your picture. That's what I had done previously. In Canada, land titles has a miscellaneous category, but they need to be trained. Are you a person or a fictitious entity? A motor vehicle is commercial. Private vehicle gives a notice that you do not have a motor vehicle. I've seen vehicles in Arizona that have registration that's expired by many years with private vehicle on them, and that's true. A friend of mine told me that a cop came up to him and said, "Why is my computer telling me to leave you alone?" That's true too. It's true.
Do not stop.
You're not authorized to serve commercial process on me, okay? So they can presume that they can serve some commercial process when they give you a ticket. That's commercial process. You tell them up front, you're not authorized to serve commercial process on me. And now that defeats their presumption. They're involved in commerce, and they make all sorts of presumptions. Demand that they protect you, okay? The United States is foreign from Texas or California or any of the states. Canada is foreign to Alberta or Saskatchewan or any of the Canadian states. Okay, those are states. They may be called provinces, but they are states. The province of Alberta is a municipal corporation, and it's a subcorporation of the municipal corporation called Canada. It's the same thing in the U.S. U.S. and Canada. All legislation's color of law. They don't have a shred of authority. FBI has offices in Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver. Did you know that?
The FBI does?
Yeah. Just under the Articles of Confederation, Canada could join anytime they wanted. And yet, when the Articles of Confederation were written, Canada didn't exist. Did you know that? Canada did not exist in 1781 when the Articles of Confederation were written.
What was it?
Well, it was
There was an Upper Canada and a Lower Canada, and they were like a small area of what's now Ontario and Quebec.
So that's what it was referring to, that area?
I guess. But I think it's more like they already knew what they were planning on doing. You see what I'm saying?
Well, back then it was part of England.
Right.
Huh?
At that time, it was part of England.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the Dominion.
The use of codes, rules, and regulations can be an implied contract. If you use their codes, rules, and regulations, they can presume you're an entity that's subject to said codes, rules, and regulations. And that's why I have that paragraph in there. It says, the use by me of any of your statutes, codes, rules, or regulations is only what applies to you, and it's not meant to imply that I've entered into any jurisdiction alluded to thereby.
Your disclaimer.
That's right.
Do you put a bunch of your disclaimers near the end and group them together?
I put them all over the place. Commercial paper, if they receive commercial paper as compensation, they are a municipal corporation, and that's what they all receive. Law of nations, in order for a nation to exist, it takes 3 things: people, land, and resources. So if you put yourself into the law of nations, you basically say that I've got more than $21 in silver and I've got absolute title to land. That puts me into the status of a nation. The only legitimate power held by any government power is delegated by we the people. And Boris was right. I didn't realize that it might have been the Declaration of Independence that was the trust indenture, but that's entirely possible. I always said it was the Constitution was a trust indenture, but the trust indenture could have actually happened before then. The Constitution is a debt instrument. If you read the definition of Constitution in any law dictionary, it'll tell you it is a debt instrument.
It's a compromise in debt.
Yeah.
Just look at the word constitutor.
We're
Constitutor is one who
reconstituting.
obligates himself to the debts of another.
Yeah.
We're reconstituting the country because of its failed state.
A constitution is always executed under the laws of Lex Regis too, by a king over his subjects.
The unalienable rights cannot be alienated under any circumstances. Unalienable rights are not inalienable rights. Inalienable rights can be alienated because of a contract. You get these bar members that are involved in making up these law dictionaries, and they like to change subtle little things like that. But that is the case.
That was
Contracts.
in the Constitution as well.
Sorry?
The Declaration of Independence, wasn't it?
Right. Unalienable.
They had a big discussion though about which word to use.
Oh, was that right? I wasn't aware of that.
I was looking up the story about that.
Yeah, well, actually, I think it was Jefferson that made up the Declaration, and the Constitution itself was done by the Constitutional Convention, but I think it was Jefferson that wrote the Declaration on his own, by himself.
Right.
So does that mean a new constitutional convention is a new debt instrument? Is that what you're saying?
Well, a new con would open it up for grabs.
Well, there's a lot of schools of thought on that because the lawyers are everywhere, and so think about it. If there's a constitutional convention, it's going to be lawyers that are running the show.
Well, we're in
So,
it.
what's going to come out of it? It may not be any better. It could be worse than what we've got. And they're not even following what we've got.
Right.
And so that's what a lot of people are concerned about, and I think it's a valid concern.
Because once they open up the constitutional convention, they can then vote, offer and vote upon anything.
Right.
Yeah, a new constitution's already been written. Just waiting
Well,
to be implemented.
and it's not a good one.
No, it is a good one.
Contracts. A law merchant contract is nullity. A presumed contract is perjury of oath. Common law contract is the only valid contract between living souls. Everything else is a nullity. I have the right to resist an unlawful arrest with lethal force if necessary. Where the officer is killed in the course of the disorder which naturally accompanies an attempted arrest that is resisted, the law looks with very different eyes upon the transaction when the officer had the right to make the arrest from what it does when the officer had no right. What may be murder in the first case may be nothing more than manslaughter in the other, or the facts might show that no offense had been committed. And that's U.S. Supreme Court.
So
Yeah, that's tough today.
Oh, it is, for sure. I mean, the cops are murdering people all over the place.
Actually, it would be an assault on the cop if there's no murder.
That's why we need to convene our common law jural assemblies, and we need to start putting these pigs on trial.
Yeah.
Now, when they make an arrest and they say you're under arrest, they're arresting the man. Can you at that moment?
Well, they can't arrest a man. They can
Right.
only arrest a thing.
Right. So is that the false arrest of the man?
Well,
Because they're coming out to arrest the fiction.
that's right. And so anytime you allege false arrest, then they have to prove that it was a lawful arrest.
If it's,
Well,
if
in
it's
my-
a sheriff,
We have an example.
In my case, when I said that to them, they say, well, here's the paper. The judge issued a warrant over you because you missed a court date.
Well, so they showed you the warrant.
No, they did. I mean, it's fake. She makes it up.
most all
I
warrants
didn't
are
miss
fake.
any.
Well, I know. So then, if it was fake, then you said that's not a lawful warrant.
Yeah, I said that, but still, 5 of them jumped me and fight me.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So then you still allege false arrest. I
Yeah.
don't care about your paper.
I told them.
Prove that this is a lawful
I
arrest.
told them to prove the warrant, and you know what? They said,
Right.
well, the judge signed it. That makes it.
It doesn't. And I would file a lawsuit in federal court.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah,
They
that's
find
what I
as
would
well
do.
that it wasn't signed.
But make sure
Which is very rarely signed warrant.
make sure you tell them it's a false arrest,
It was.
and send me an email. I'll send you some court citations. Remind me what they are, okay? Because I get a lot of emails. But I'll send you some court citations that say that the judge has to, that when it's a false arrest alleged, the presumption is that it was false arrest, and they have to prove that it was a lawful arrest. You see what I'm saying?
Well, their proof was she signed the warrant. So
Well, but
they're just doing their job.
they didn't show you the warrant, and I got court cases that say they have to do that too.
And it's
So-
not just a properly signed warrant by a judge. It also has to be supported or backed
By witnesses.
by affidavit and a bond.
That's right. And so I got some court cases that cover some of that. Maybe not all of it. Maybe Vital has some more of it. I'm not sure. I have to look at what I got. But I'll send me an email. I'll send you what I got.
So my question is the warrant for the woman, or is the warrant for the...
It's always for a thing.
Always for the business.
Right, so how can they take a woman into custody?
Because
Surety for it.
because
why? Because she hasn't filed that original, not the notice.
she hasn't defeated their presumptions, really.
Have you defeated their presumptions
But
yet? Is
but
my
I did in
question.
paper.
but presumptions is no excuse for violating a constitutional right. So she can. The issue is false arrest. I would bring that up, and I'd bring an action in federal court. And I'm not saying anything good will come out of it. Well, something good will come out of it for sure. But whether you get their bond or not, I don't know. It just depends on the bail priest. You know what I mean? But if you can convene it to a common law jury, that's even better.
By the way, they can't arrest a man as long as it's to protect the property of another man, like on a complaint of another man.
If there's a breach of the peace, that's right. It has to be done. There's certain requirements. There's got to be a breach of the peace or a lawful valid complaint.
So only a police officer a peace officer can make a lawful arrest of a man, not a law enforcement
Of course,
officer?
of course.
Are you hearing that?
But for it to be
Wait, say that
lawful,
again?
She's not here.
So then you have to ask them for your certificate of registration as a peace officer. And like Boris was talking about, I think that's brilliant.
yeah.
So the dynamics are what for her, so she can understand the registration of the peace officer. Who arrested
But
you? Was it a peace
right now
officer?
they've already
State police.
right now they've already done it.
Right.
So that's like closing the barn door after the horse gets out. Just file a lawsuit. The allegation is false arrest, and the burden's on them to prove they made a lawful arrest.
Okay.
And a lawful arrest would be, by definition,
Well, there you go. Yeah, that's a good point.
And I was
Yeah.
thrown in jail for 45 days, and then to let me go, she had to force me to plead for disorderly conduct.
right?
So it's
Because
extortion.
I was screaming, 5 of them jumping me,
It's
and I
extortion.
was kicking and screaming.
It's extortion.
Hurting.
It's extortion. I just bring it in that's extortion and racketeering. I just say those words, and let the judge decide. You see what I'm saying? But
So the definition of a lawful arrest.
So a lawful arrest has to be done by a peace officer with a certificate of registration as a peace officer. Make sure and put that down.
Yes.
Put that down. That's a requirement for a lawful arrest. And because if they can't produce it, if any one of the officers that did it can't produce it, they got a problem.
They do have a problem. And I don't want to go to sleep and leave them alone.
I don't blame you. So you got to nail them. But anyways, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any restraint on my liberty is an arrest, signed and sealed in red ink on the land. I always sign it in red ink, and I say that it's signed in red ink because then you can tell if there's a copy, because the copy's not in red ink, right? And sealed on the land, red ink is what people use, okay? Our blood's red, so you use red ink. Blue is commercial. Black is dead things.
This is the criminal complaint, or what?
Notice and demand. Just a notice and demand.
So any
This is
notice
just
and demand is in
this is
red.
just a notice and demand.
Glenn, you ever identify what side of the page to sign on, right or left?
I always signed on the right.
You sign on that.
Always. If you look on all my documents, it's the right. The judges, they should be signing on the right. Some of them you see signing in the middle.
Yeah, right.
But that's really not a lawful judge. They should be signing on the right on their paperwork too.
Creditors are on the right, debtors on the left usually.
Well,
So it's-
so I always sign on the right. it's always the right, for sure. And in red ink. Now you can use witnesses or get it notarized. You know, I have people that I give unlimited consultations to, and I call it babysitting, because they ask me, well, should I get it notarized or should I get it witnessed? I don't care. However you want to do it. I get frustrated sometimes with babysitting.
Yeah.
Common law, if it's like common law, you probably want to use man witnesses.
I like using a notary, quite frankly, because it's in their face and it's in their system. You see what I'm saying?
Hey.
I've used witnesses. I've used notaries. I prefer using a notary. I've got notaries that can do it, but the notice and demand isn't notarized. Okay, I just make it under penalty of perjury. It's the criminal complaint that gets notarized, and that's when it becomes powerful. And you attach the notice and demand as evidence. So the affidavit, the criminal complaints and affidavits, you make that notarized. An affidavit is notarized. An affidavit's commercial. Okay, at common law, it's a declaration. So I usually use affidavit and declaration up in the title, but again, I want to get up in their face. I want to be so much in their face as I possibly can. And so you're going to have to step into that commercial system a little bit to get up in their face. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Now common law, I mean, that's even better. If we can convene a jural assembly and start bringing indictments against these pigs, then great, let's do it.
How do you get a jural assembly convened?
Well, you have to have a judge, first of all, so you have to have some sort of county or statewide assembly and elect a judge. You have to elect a judge.
So you guys did that in Texas?
Uh-huh. Yep.
So since technically my jurisdiction is everywhere that the Spain had dominion, which was Texas also at one point in time, then I can actually use your assembly.
We will be glad to help you. There's a filing fee.
Okay.
But other than that, I'm sure that any common law jury in Texas would be happy to hear it.
Yeah, well, Spain wasn't common law.
No, but actually there was common law in...
Actually, all of Europe was common law.
No, Spain wasn't. The Spanish law is
the
totally
Napoleonic
different.
Code.
No, there's
And so same way with Louisiana.
it
That
all
was the
started
problem
out with,
UCC.
there's a common law of Europe, there's a common law of Germany,
Right.
there's a common law of
Today they're
Denmark.
under the EU.
No, before.
There was a common
Before,
law.
you read the old documents and stuff like that?
The laws of California were common law because of the Spain.
It really comes down to natural law. And
Well, I
natural
understand
law
that.
has been here from the beginning of time.
But the reference to it and the structure within it is different in Spanish law versus Napoleonic law versus English law.
Well, and there may be some differences, and that's where I don't know that much about Spanish, and that's why, you need to find out about that, if there are differences, but I would...
No, the Spanish law is very much like common law because the first thing you do in Spanish, in the Napoleonic Code, is you file a denuncia. You denounce the person. You make a claim.
Okay.
So what's the difference? A notice and demand or a denuncia is one and the same?
Right, sounds like it.
It is.
Okay, well,
Go forward.
anyways,
It's using 26 witnesses.
that's a grand jury. So that's big time up in their face, if you want to use witnesses. But I'd be more inclined to use the witnesses, especially 26, on a criminal complaint. But again, if you got 26 people, then you might as well just convene a grand jury and bring an indictment and call it a true bill. and that'll get their attention big time.
That takes it right to their,
Yeah.
that's immediate.
Yep.
Isn't the grand jury supposed to be an odd number so there's no tie? Because the way we were doing it, I think it was either 25 or 27.
A grand
So there
jury
would
can
be a tie.
be anywhere between 12 and 26 people. Usually they're 23 or 24,
See, a
but
grand
but
jury
it
was
really
fine.
doesn't matter.
Under the common law, it should be 25 because there were 25 lords that established the
I
common
think
law.
it was an odd
That's
number.
section 61 of the Magna Carta.
Right.
I think
And
it was an odd number when we did it, and it
Well,
was a petit
if
jury
you wanna
and
make
a
it-
grand jury.
if you want to make it, the petite jury's 12.
Yeah, I think ours was
Although
9.
if you're in communist Canada, petite jury's 6. Make sure you send your notice and demand by registered mail. Registered mail is kept under lock and key, and there's a chain of custody. A better way to effect service, if you really want to do it, and take the time and effort, is get personal service by 3 or 4 people. Make an affidavit of service. But again, that's a lot of time and effort for a whole bunch of people, and so it could be expensive. The objective is to build a case against them. Okay, everything you do should be with the objective of building a case. Okay, so you want to make meticulous records and keep track of everything. Criminal complaint. If they do anything other than grovel, file a criminal complaint. Let them prove they're honoring their oath of office. Attach your evidence, send a criminal complaint to their boss. If possible, record the criminal complaint into the public. That means the counter recorder. After 30 days, add their boss, which is an accomplice after the fact, to the next criminal complaint and send it to their next boss up the chain of command with a notice and demand in which you demand they remove and prosecute their criminal. And after 30 days, add their boss as an accomplice and send it to the next boss with a notice and demand. Oh, it says keep going up the chain of command up to and including the president. Add the president, record the document into the public, and send him a copy. Always use registered mail or personal service with witnesses. Obviously, the president, you're not going to be able to use personal service. Have you ever tried to call an officer of the court a liar? A third-party witness witnesses the contents of your mailings and delivers it to the post office and also certifies that there's no response. If you use an officer of the court third-party witness, it puts them in a very difficult position because they cannot say they did not get your notice. And that's where a notary comes in really handy. And we'll be talking about that in one of my other videos about administrative. It's not the administrative procedure, it's the make yourself a judgment. How to make your own judgment. Once you have started to establish your lawful de jure government, you can be even more in your face by using officers of the court of your lawful de jure government. When you use this procedure in an ensuing action, it essentially becomes a counterclaim. Always take the initiative, go on the attack, show up at the judge's office a few days before the hearing with witnesses. Always demand or require. I require this. When in court, they ask you, do you understand? According to Bouvier's Law Dictionary, 1856 edition, it says, those persons who want understanding are idiots, lunatics, drunkards, and infants. So, if you want understanding, so that's the answer, isn't it?
That's good.
That's what the court says. Do you understand the charges? Well, according to Bouvier's Law Dictionary, 1856 edition, those persons who want understanding are idiots, lunatics, drunkards, and idiots. So it doesn't look like you're drunk, and it doesn't look like you're an idiot. So are you a lunatic or an idiot? Or no, it doesn't look like you're an infant. An infant. So are you a lunatic or an idiot?
So you would have to throw it out. Face right there, right? If you do not understand.
If you bring that up.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot.
If you just keep saying, I do not understand.
Hold it. We take no paper of it.
Huh? Oh. So, Judge, I can see you're not an infant. Are you drunk or just an idiot?
All of the above.
You're in essence stating that the fact that you made a mistake of fact, law, and fact due to fraud, coercion, and intimidation on the part of government officials, and this process is simply correcting the public record. You're telling them to correct their records. Estoppel. A bar that prevents one from asserting a claim or right that contradicts what one has said or done before, or what has been legally established as true. Okay, so you're putting them into estoppel. That's why they're called estoppel certificates. By getting involved in their color of law statutes, codes, rules, and regulations, we've voluntarily given them permission to enforce their codes, rules, and regulations on us. By giving them notice that a different set of facts are true, we take away that presumption. Because attorneys are running things these days, we have to make sure that we create an evidence trail. Collateral estoppel. The binding effect of a judgment as to matters actually litigated and determined in one action on later controversies between the parties involving a different claim from that on which the original judgment was based. It's a doctrine barring a party from relitigating an issue determined against that party in an earlier action, even if the second action differs significantly from the first one. termed issue preclusion, issue estoppel, direct estoppel, estoppel by judgment, estoppel by record, estoppel by verdict, technical estoppel, estoppel per rem judicum, and res judicata.
Res
Right?
Estoppel.
Estoppel.
You had rem judicata. It was written rem, R-E-M.
No, down the left.
Res.
on this last
That looks
one.
like
Oh,
res
okay, okay.
judicata.
I was,
For rent.
This is estoppel per rem judicatum.
okay. I'll give you that one.
Thank you. Estoppel by silence. Estoppel that arises when a party is under a duty to speak but fails to do so. When you serve it on them and they don't respond, they're put into estoppel.
Do they have to respond registered?
No.
No.
So how do we?
It depends on how much they want to build a case against you.
In their rule book,
Really?
putting it into the mailing system means that it was delivered to you, whether you receive it or not.
Estoppel certificate, that's right. Estoppel certificate, a signed statement by a party such as a tenant or mortgagee certifying for another's benefit that certain facts are correct and that a lease exists, that there are no defaults, that rent is paid to a certain date. A party's delivery of this statement stops that party from later claiming a different set of facts.
So it puts it in the record,
That's right.
establishes a fact
That's right.
from that point forward.
So it works with your government officials. Every paragraph in my document is an estoppel certificate. It's designed to take away their presumptions and put them in the position of honoring their oath of office. The principles of estoppel apply against the state as well as individuals. When they do not respond, they have acquiesced. And we've already read this one. Silence can only be equated with fraud when there's no legal or moral duty to speak, when there is a legal or moral duty to speak, or when an inquiry left unanswered would be intentionally misleading. We cannot condone the shocking conduct. If that is the case, we hope our message is clear. This sort of deception will not be tolerated, and if this is routine, it should be corrected immediately. Most of our public servants are just honest, hard-working people, and you will never have a problem with them, but you never know which one is going to violate your rights, so you have to notice as many as possible. When you use a third-party witness, it becomes very difficult for them to squirm out of it. If you use an officer of the court as a third-party witness, it is impossible for them to squirm out of it. They have to call the officer of the court a liar, and in order to do that, they better have some witnesses.
Did you explain that?
What?
The last piece, if you use an officer of the court?
I just said it.
Could you explain it further?
If you're using a constable or a processor.
If you want to call an officer of the court a liar, you better have at least two witnesses that can say, yes, I saw him lie. If the notary public serves the document, there's no way they're going to call a notary a liar unless they got two witnesses to say that he did not serve this document.
Just like we had 6 people put affidavits of the judge stating something on the record, and the judge changed the manuscript, and we already had the 6 affidavits before the manuscript got changed.
Right. So now you got him for perjury.
Correct.
Well, actually, it's not him. It's
somebody-
the court clerk that recorded it.
A trustee of the judge.
Whatever, whoever it was, but it was
The
someone.
trustee.
But it's
They work
also,
together.
it's a conspiracy.
Yeah, it's conspired trustee.
Well, but
relationship.
you'd have to prove that the judge actually told the trustee or whoever it is that changed it. You'd have to prove that to get the conspiracy going, but it might not be that hard. But it might be too.
But
we
it
see-
could have also been
we
an
have records
intentional
of it
mistake.
happening. No, we have records happening repeatedly with these judges
Oh, sure.
and the clerks. So there's a policy.
Well,
I see, so basically it's a notary would be your best officer.
Bring in a private
Right.
stenographer.
I see.
right.
Thank you.
The privilege against self-incrimination is neither accorded to a passive resistance nor the person who is ignorant of his rights, nor to one indifferent thereto. It is a fighting clause. Its benefits can be retained only by sustained combat. It cannot be retained by attorney or solicitor. It is valid only when insisted upon by a belligerent claimant in person. The one who is persuaded by honeyed words or moral suasion to testify or produce documents rather than make a last-ditch stand simply loses the protection. Once he testifies to part, he has waived his right and must on cross-examination or otherwise testify as to the whole transaction. He must refuse to answer or produce and test the matter in contempt proceedings or by habeas corpus. And that's U.S. District Judge James Alger Fee, United States versus Johnson, 1947.
That was something I mentioned yesterday when you talk about the unalienable right to silence, protected by the Fifth Amendment,
Right.
Fourth Amendment search and seizure and all that stuff. You have to, right from the beginning, from the first interaction, reserve your rights.
That's right.
And then stick to it. If they ask you a question, even what time is it, you don't do that and say it's 4:10, because you just answered the question and then you've given up your rights. At that point, so it doesn't matter. You have to, and that's why a belligerent claim, that's why they say that. And you have to.
Mean what
Just
you
mean
say.
shut up.
Mean what you say and say what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk to these people, but you ask them questions. You never answer one, ever.
That's right.
Because at that point...
See, you listen to Boris, he always answered a question with a question.
Yeah.
And make no statements and answer no questions.
That's good advice.
And if we shall not have corrected the transgression within 40 days, reckoning from the time it has been intimated to us, the 4 barons aforesaid shall refer that matter to the rest of the 25 barons, and those 25 barons shall, together with the community of the whole realm, distrain and distress us in all possible ways, namely by seizing our castles, lands, possessions, and any other way they can, until redress has been obtained as they deem fit. Section 61 of the Magna Carta. Christ said, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. You have been empowered with knowledge. Never take anyone's word for this. Study it out for yourself. Knowledge is power. What's the alternative? And that's the end of that one.
Are you able to just pull up that document about the Achilles heel? I just wanted to show that to Vitaly.
The what?
The document I sent you before about the
Just
Achilles heel being the word you.
Oh.
I think it's on the second email that I sent you. You got that one too.
Yeah, yeah.
I only got one.
Let me...
You can send it to me if you want directly.
I saved it on my hard drive.
Carl, you can send it to me directly if you want. Portugal10@AOL.com.
Well, I'm thinking of
He wants to
just
share
a quick
with the
thing,
people.
but it just points out what you brought up. I actually had the document on my laptop because I was fully aware of it, and not very many people are.
Who is you?
Use of Social Security, who is you, no SSS bank account. Thank you.
Right there. Who you are is no longer the question. The question is, who is you? The word you gets more people into trouble than any other word currently utilized by our legal and financial systems. It is virtually impossible to fully explain the proper grammatic usage of the word you insofar as proper English is concerned. Under Wikipedia, you is the second person personal pronoun in modern English. Ye was the original nominative form. The oblique objective form is you, functioning originally as both accusative and dative, and the possessive is your or yours. Yourdictionary.com, you, the person to whom one is speaking or writing, personal pronoun in the second person. You is the nominated and objective form. Yours, the possessive, and yourself and yourselves, the reflexive and extensive. Your is the possessive pronominal adjective. any person equivalent in sense to definitive one, you can never be sure.
So up at the top of the parentheses, right where it says, you, the second line on the left, person, and then parentheses says single and plural. See right there? Number one, right below it says person, the second line, and then parentheses said single and plural.
I'm not seeing it.
Number one, all the way down.
Oh,
Lines up,
under
too
one,
far up.
okay.
Right there, yeah, it says.
Second line of number one,
Right.
Okay,
person,
single
it says
and
singular and
plural.
plural.
Right,
And you can never know what it is.
right.
But so you don't get in trouble, always assume that it's plural, because it most likely is.
Ask them to define the word.
So are you saying I'm you?
Well, you, if
You
it's
are
gonna be used in a plural sense, would merge the real man with the strong man.
Right.
And the other thing is, when you're doing that to the judge, it actually has more than one meaning.
Yeah.
Because you're actually telling him that you saying that I'm the trustee, you're the trustee. That's kind of what you're doing. Because he's saying that you are you, and you're saying, no, you are you.
You can be you because you are the I am that you are, that connection to God, the I am. So you can't really ever be you. It's
Well,
just-
you can.
Well,
As long as you answer to it, you are.
that's true.
So if you're both hats, you have to then define what it means by answering to it.
You have to ask the judge.
I'm here as I am,
Ask the judge to define.
but I also have with me this slave, a separate.
I wouldn't use the word slave,
No, I stand in,
because slavery is against the law.
No, it isn't. No, it is
No,
not.
that's right, it's
Voluntary-
involuntary. If you
voluntary.
volunteer,
Yes,
But-
involuntary slavery is against the law.
I understand that. But it's not a good word, because then you have to define it's voluntary slavery or not. And I don't think it's a good word to use, because it's not, you don't know what it is, it's not a slave.
Well, they don't.
Oh yeah,
It's
my
a
fiction
fictional- it's a-
is a slave.
It's a
No,
fictional
it's called
name.
indentured servitude.
Right.
Right.
My fiction is a slave.
But you carry liability for that.
Sometimes, many times.
What?
Many times.
I don't carry liability for
The
that.
men, they trying to force you to carry liability, whether you want to or not.
The owner is a trust which cannot, according to it, and this is why they freak out about it, the terms of the trust, it cannot be brought in court or law. Oh my God. They can't touch it. And they freak out. That's why no bank wants to, open an account for that trust, because it cannot be brought for court or law. There's no rights anybody can do to it. And that was accepted by the State Department.
I've got an account in the trust.
Yes, but does yours permit it? I have a trust that's the main trust that doesn't permit a court or law. So you gotta
It's in
do
the
it.
document, right?
So you have to contract freely and with complete knowledge, and if you don't, it's a different story.
Well, my trust document, the trustee can change the status of the trust anytime he wants, so it's kind of a catch me if you can type thing.
The trustee can what?
Move the status of the trust. It's located.
Situs of the trust, right?
Situs of the trust.
Situs, yeah.
And there's some jurisdictions where they gotta post $25,000 to even open up a case.
Well, this thing is not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. So it's not District of Columbia. So anybody in the District of Columbia that tries to attach an asset to this trust or probate this trust without my permission, I'm the trustee right now, is committing a felony. It's committing crimes. It's committing theft. They have no rights. There's no jurisdiction. So they're acting as a private citizen trying to rob and steal my assets.
so I can see at least a couple good videos that I can make in here. One is the 12 points of 12 presumptions of jurisdiction, and who is you? That's another good one.
That's
Well, it gives the examples there too.
I know.
You just hit it really good there. Who is you?
Yeah. Who is you?
So, but if you define it, hey, I am you. I am that's this person.
I am,
That's,
I am.
that's man.
I am not you.
I am man, and I was my slave.
When you say I
And
am,
you can say,
that's
you
your
can
name.
call it whatever you want. And,
I wouldn't use slaves. Usually ask, who are you? Who you is.
or my trust slave.
Who is yours? Now you're going down south.
Well, it is.
Are you asking ye or are
We
you
don't have
asking
it.
you?
It's 5:15, so it's probably too late to be starting anything.
Which, you know, the other part of the Spanish law,
But if it's a group.
what you might find interesting, if you are
So what about if it's a
a
group?
king in Spanish law, your picture, your
Yeah,
photograph,
if it's one group,
okay,
it's still
is part of
but if
your
it's incorrect thing, because it's one
family
couple,
heritage.
it's who is
And
who.
if they use it without your permission,
If I come talking
So
to you,
basically,
how many of you will look?
you, by
Well, you-
virtue,
yeah, I'm
You don't know who it is.
they're
You
not
don't know what
allowed, they're
they
not
mean.
allowed to use
All of
it. So
you.
if they
But
take
if I say I'm
my
talking to
registration,
I'm
have
talking
to
to
be
him,
any of
or
the
I'm talking to you.
Spanish canon law,
That's one person.
But you
then
never
you,
hear who is
states,
you. You always hear who are
and
you.
you are
It's
a sovereign,
assuming plural.
a
So
real
if I say, who
sovereign.
are you?
And essentially,
It's like you're acting
you
like
can charge
in two
them for
different,
having
three
taken
different
possession.
modes.
Oh, that's
You're
interesting.
not from one
Yeah,
stream
because if
of
you go look
mind
at
to
law,
the other.
that's part of
Like
our,
shifting.
that's
Who
part of our
are you?
legal
You're
system.
here or
That's
Right.
part of our
You're
system.
calling
Of the
this
Spanish common law.
investigative.
Correct.
You know what I mean? It's like you're not, your
My
mind's not.
photograph is part of my own image.
set.
Well, it's actually your image and your fingerprints. You own those.
Correct, absolutely, and so in Spanish law, which means Florida, all of the former Spanish,
Texas.
Texas,
Yeah.
that's your property.
Right. So that'd
And
be.
they have nobody has any rights to it. So if you say it's $1 billion for anybody to abuse my picture, and anybody that accesses it's $100,000 each time they access it, they can't do anything about it. And what you do is any corporation, so the corporations that are owning these local jails are large corporations owned by the banks and
Oh, yeah.
mutual fund companies and
Right,
stuff. So in
right.
other words, and there is no corporate veil when they're in common law.
Right.
So in other words, every one of their CEOs is personally responsible. And so essentially you can collapse the entire banking system by basically them not taking down your pictures. If you've noticed that.
Where do they have the picture?
They took a picture of me and put it on, what do you call that?
The post
Whatever.
office.
No. Online. Mugshots.com. Anybody ever puts my name out there, he shows this mugshots.com and it goes there almost immediately. You know, you put my name in there and it goes there like
So
the first page.
have you sued them over that?
I basically filed them a notice and demand, and I haven't gone for the criminal part of it, and they know that I have a right to basically take down the system. Because I put a notice in demand for a number of things, including huge amounts based on my sovereignty
Mm-hmm.
and my things. And what they did, they made a claim to try and breach my sovereignty that, hey, he gave us a copy. It's not even certified from the government, so it's not valid. So and they called me a sovereign citizen for that reason. So they basically...
Well, if they're going to do that, they're going to engage in war crimes. That's a war crime. Persecuting you for your political beliefs, that's a war crime.
Oh, I understand. And I put that. They're engaging in war crimes, they engage in all these things, but I haven't done it the way you did it completely. And I looked at the passport I had, and it had P on it. So they converted me somewhere along the line to being a citizen, and they had no right to do so.
So we don't know yet what that P means.
Prisoner?
No, Boris said that, but we're not sure. We don't have confirmation that that's what
Where's
it
the
means.
facts and evidence?
I mean,
That
it
could
might
be
be
right.
correct, but
Right.
I wouldn't go just on Boris saying it.
Oh, well,
We
it's
need to do more research.
But
That's
if it had been anything but a carpeted floor, it would
He didn't
have.
say
But the screen
why.
was already cracked, anyways. But so it's not that big of a deal.
Could you just comment on the fact that when we file these criminal complaints, that fraud and treason at the minimum are felonies, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Like what other felonies? So
Breach of trust, criminal complaints. First of all, 99% of the time, they're violating your rights under the color of law. That's a felony under Title 18, United States Code, Section 242. And then if you can put two of them or more, involved in doing this, then that's a conspiracy under Title 18 United States Code, Section 241.
What was the first one? Title 18?
241, 242.
Yeah.
Now, this is federal crime, so it may not be a felony in the state.
Well,
Yes,
it's,
every state,
Yes, it is, they took a federal law.
the state
Yeah.
of what?
it's all federal.
The state of New Jersey.
You can find
the
federal
state of
and
New
state
York.
crimes.
Right.
One of those documents I sent you, Nelson,
What?
has all the,
What do you say?
about this, not being able to turn a right into a crime.
Yeah, there's a tow truck out there with a car.
That was terrible. That was bad, that was bad.
That's tomorrow, not today, not today.
Converting a right into a privilege in order to make it.
Yeah, that's what they end up doing.
Yeah.
Is the car towing the tow truck?
And license.
That's like
Doesn't
license.
say the car's being towed.
All they do is remind you when you get your license that this is a privilege, not a right, and if you sign that and agree to it, you just gave away your rights.
Well, in Ohio, one of the things we've learned recently is that when you sign that new agreement and with Real ID, you're actually getting into organ donor situation where they become
It's two separate things.
It-
They become the trustee over your organs.
It has to
If
do
you
with,
donate your organs, yeah, it's,
but now it's all under the Noahide laws. They can behead you so they can get fresh organs.
Yeah.
And under the Noahide laws, it only takes one witness to behead you.
yeah,
Yeah, under the Noahide laws, it only takes one witness to behead you.
that might be true.
Behead, take your head off,
Take your
boom.
head
And the
off.
reason why they want to take your head off is
Yeah.
because it
Gotta get
preserves
out
all
of the
your other
registry.
organs.
The donor registry is together.
This is one because he's already dead.
No. You're alive, they capture you and they said, oh, okay, he performed an act of treason. And it was one witness that says that, and they go, okay, we accept it, then off with his head. So it only takes one person as a
Better
witness.
make sure you get the surgeon nearby to harvest.
But that's essentially the new laws, and remember, Bush put us under the Noahide laws by executive order, and the UN has adopted the Noahide laws as their law.
Only if you're a U.S. citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Federal employees,
Or under
elected
Unidroit.
officials.
Under
All
Unidroit, 90% of the world.
It's all contract.
So if we
The-
rebut that presumption, then they don't have that
Right.
legal right. They may still do it anyway, but at least.
Friend of mine, Patrick Ellis, I think I told you about him already. He has done a bunch of research, and he said that in France, when they were doing the French Revolution and guillotining all those people, he said that they would, they had stairs going up the outside of the building to the second floor, and a door, and you go in there, and there's a guy at a desk and a ledger, and you sign your name, and then they take you off and guillotine you. So, I think that's the answer, right? Have to sign. If you're going to sign, I'd put down without prejudice. I wouldn't even put anything else, but without prejudice. Either that or I just wouldn't sign. I'd say my name's not there. See what I'm saying? And I've actually had dreams of that, and where they basically kicked me out of there, and I had to make my way back to someplace across the desert. Anyways, yeah.
Wow.
No, there's a lot of stuff that's going on that you guys that would freak you out if you knew everything. And I wish I didn't know everything I know now. It's pretty freaky stuff.
Scripture says in Ecclesiastes, with knowledge, the increase in knowledge brings the increase in sorrow.
So Title 18, conspiracy against
The increase
rights.
in knowledge is an increase in sorrow. Two or more people are involved.
Nice.
Yeah,
Deprivation
because
of
you
rights
know about
under
the knowledge
common
of
law.
you know about the knowledge of the book and good and evil, and you realize
Where an
just how
individual is
corrupt people
detained
are.
without a warrant, okay, traffic infractions are not crimes. According to this, a traffic infraction is not a crime.
That's correct.
So therefore, his detention was not a false arrest.
What's a Wait a minute, when you stop somebody from their travel, you have arrested their,
Correct.
their travel.
Any detainment constitutes an arrest.
Right, and then they took my property, so they arrested my property.
You're not reading it correctly, Nelson.
It does say a motorist illegally held for 23 minutes and a traffic charge was awarded $25,000 in damages.
Correct.
Right. It says that traffic infractions are not crimes.
True.
They're not arrestable offenses.
So you didn't commit a, okay.
But what they're claiming is that because I had unlicensed vehicle, or whatever, that I had committed a crime in the state of New Jersey.
Well, they're taking a private means of conveyance and identifying it as a motor vehicle within their statutes.
Correct, within their statutes. I told them that I was traveling by my car, and it's my private property.
But they didn't accept that.
Well, if that were true, why did you have the DMV plates on it? See,
That's
a
the
problem.
major fault.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
You gave them a presumption.
And now that was a false plate site, wasn't for that vehicle.
You're using their, you're advertising that you're under their jurisdiction.
Exactly.
Right. So that's a problem.
And then the contract is expired, so it was a contract.
Yeah, and so, because I had...
So in your view, is he still gonna prevail or not?
I think he's got a very good chance of prevailing.
Only because they don't want the aggravation.
Well, not only that, but he has one of his points are correct. But it didn't help him by having an expired plate on.
Do we want to go through, I got a short, it's a short presentation, we could go through one presentation, it'll probably take, depending on the questions.
Go
We're
forward.
Go for it.
Go for it.
What was the time, you didn't let him finish the contract. How long were you saying?
Is this a copy for me, or are you just showing, passing it around?
Pass it around.
All right.
Oh,
I think I got a picture of it yesterday.
That's all we'll put it.
This is, make your own judgment. Called a nil dissent judgment. Part of my screen seems to be going off the edge on here, but it's up at the top. Nil dissent judgment. Just make your own judgment. Copies of these documents can be found in my private group. Again, a PDF file of this presentation is on my private group at Yahoo. Anybody can do this against anybody. You need a notary public that will work with you. Many notaries are clueless and perjure their oaths all the time, but this is a common law procedure on how to build a case. And once you build this, no judge will ever dispute it.
Lawful, yeah.
Yeah.
How is it that you're saying these notaries are violating their perjury?
Well, they got no business reading the document, right? I think you even said that. You don't let them read the document. Well,
You
so
wanted to know what it was. So
that's
you could
perjury of
identify
oath.
it.
If they don't notarize the document, then they're perjuring their oath.
Even when it's a jurat, you're only supposed to swear to a statement in front of them.
That's right.
And
That's right. That's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
So what are they supposed to be doing? Are they supposed to read the doc or not?
No, they're not. It's none of the damn business.
Right, that's exactly right. They're only supposed to be verifying that you're you and that
That's
you
right.
signed it.
That's right.
Or what I just said. If
You find out that most of them are lawyers acting
taking a
as
note of
notices.
something.
This uses a standard notice and demand, and that's what we've talked about previously in the estoppel certificates video, and the asserting your sovereignty that we just went through. It's a standard notice and demand. You have notary witnesses the contents of the envelopes. Okay, so you're gonna have to get them to witness, and it's actually gonna say they witnessed the contents of the envelope. So it's more than just notarizing the documents. Okay, it's more than that, and you're gonna make up a ledger that they are going to, or you're gonna help them to keep completed.
And even better than that is actually having them put the envelopes in the
Right. Well, and so
and receiving
you
them
have to.
and doing affidavits.
Yeah. Well, listen.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
We'll go through it.
Okay.
I
Two-
did that with a bunch of stuff. Mail service,
Uh-huh.
notarized mail service. So all of his documents I'm telling you about, all of his demands.
Yeah, let's go through it. It might have done the same thing, you might not have.
Yeah.
So step one is the notary witnesses the contents of the envelope. The notary serves the documents at the post office by registered mail. So the notary takes it, he witnesses, you put it in the envelope, or he puts it in there, and he takes it to the post office. And the notary provides a certificate of non-response. So you prepare the documents, and then the notary puts them in the envelope, seals them up. Now, part of sealing up registered mail is you have to put that paper tape all over the place and stuff, so it's going to be a bit of a process.
Is the response to go back to the notary?
Yes, yes.
It is.
Yeah, the response will go back to the notary.
Gotcha.
Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to click on the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified when there's a new upload. That's the front page of my channel, and the arrow is pointing at the bell. Okay, this is here where I had a Republic of Texas chief judge be my third-party witness. It's about as powerful as it can get. And we're going to look a little closer.
How many judges you guys have?
Well, there's a whole bunch of them. There's a lot of offices that are still vacant, but we have, we had two that showed up at that meeting in Houston. Actually, it was in, it was another town, South Texas, but they were from Houston. But there was three. There was two from Houston, and there was one from North Texas. And then there's district judges. There's different kinds of judges, right? It's the Republic of Texas. But there's a lot of offices that are full, that are vacant, I should say, that need to be filled. So there's room for more people to fill up. Anyways, the judges, all they do is swear in. They swear in the jurors. That's all they do, and they witness, or they make sure that everything's done properly. So Henry Norman, House of Sewell. That's this guy up here. It says in the statutes, in the Republic of Texas statutes, that he's an ex officio notary public. And an officer of the court, do hereby certify I've witnessed the contents pertaining to this letter. And I personally delivered it to the post office and handed it to the clerk to be sent by registered mail on the 23rd day of the month of September in the year 2008. Notice how everything is spelt out, all the numbers, except for the 23rd.
Then can you, like the certified mail, they'll give you all kinds of numbers and stickers and all of that stuff, but with the registered, they don't hand them out like that, do they?
Oh, yeah.
Same thing.
Not before I get to they want them.
No, they do to me.
I'm telling you, in this town, they do not.
Find a different one.
Right.
Okay.
They don't do it where I've been.
Find a different one.
That's what
Okay, I'm
Some
just,
post offices.
I get them.
We have
I
be
get them
able
to give them to
get
me.
the point
right,
where we
because
have
that
to
way,
charge them.
What you
it's
do-
hard to put together the document
What
with
you
the
do-
number if you don't have it ahead of time.
Well, if you have to, you go there with everything ready,
No, I know, that's
with
what I
a
have.
registration number not put in,
Exactly.
and you stand there in front of the clerk, and you write it in, handwrite it,
Right.
and you make everybody wait, and then you close up the envelope, and you seal it all up on the back, and you make everybody wait. And you do that a couple times, and they'll be glad to give you a whole roll of the things.
If you had given me a few of those, I wouldn't be no way.
Right.
Some post
That's
offices-
right. That's right. If you would have given me some of those, there'd be nobody waiting here.
Some post offices, they have them right out front, and you just grab the ones you want. But
Certified.
No, not registered.
The registered, they keep them under control.
Right, right.
They do. But once they find out, you tell them, I do a bunch of these. I'm going to be in today doing 10, and I'll be in tomorrow doing another 10. So the choice is either give me some to take home so I can have it all ready to go here, or a bunch of people are going to be waiting. Which way would you like it?
This is the way Glenn is, I'm sure, with the clerk.
Yeah.
He took it up with 2 ticks.
And the thing is, every time you go in there, ask if it's a different clerk, ask, they may give it to you.
I have no problem. Some clerks, they don't want to give them to me.
Right.
But I've had other clerks, actually what I do, I'll send you some if you want some. I've got some. I'll send them to you. Send me a donation, a small donation. I'll send you them in an envelope. But once what you do is you go in there with everything all ready to go, and you have 10 of them, say for example, and you give them to them, and they process them, and they mail them. And then as you're leaving, say, oh, by the way, I've got 10 more to do tomorrow, but I need the barcodes. Can I have some barcodes? I'll bet you they'll give them to you.
Oh, they will. They give you a stack of them.
Well, exactly. Well, certified they do, but registered they keep those under control. But if you go in there, and that's usually when I ask for it, is I'll go in there with the envelopes all ready to go, and I'll have them all filled out and ready to go, and then as they're filling them out and processing them, I'll say, oh, by the way, I got more to do. Can I get some so that I don't have to make all these good people wait behind me?
Yep, and they will do it.
And they'll do it.
If they don't, ask to talk to the manager or
The postmaster, but then there's other post offices. I guarantee you that you'll find them that'll do it. I've got a whole roll. So if you send me a donation to cover shipping, I'll send you some. That's not a problem. Anyways.
Are the numbers on the registration numbers regionalized? Like where they originate from?
I have no idea.
I know the certified is.
They might be.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
That's their system if it is. Anyways, I did a bunch of these like this. Okay, a bunch of them. This is one that I did to the John D. Overard, the first administrative regional judge in Dallas. Okay, so I sent an original notice and demand, an original official notice and demand by an American sovereign, 2 pages, so it lists how many pages each document is, 2 copies of a Republic of Texas private conveyance identification plates, 1 certified copy of a traffic stop lawful notice, a certified copy of a non-negotiable notice and demand, and a copy of a photo ID affidavit, and an original of this third-party witness statement. Okay, so I keep a copy and I put an original in the one that I sent to the judge. And all responses by the first administrative regional judge must be mailed to my attention at 6340 Lakeworth Boulevard, number 131, which is a box I opened up for the district, for the court that Sewell was the judge over. Okay, I paid for that box so that he would get it, so that it could be done this way. And but in care of me, to ensure proper receipt and response documentation of the first administrative regional judge, response to this officer of the court as a third-party witness is imperative, confirming receipt of the proper response at the proper time, that the response answered clearly the issues presented. And you can't see the bottom. Oh, here it is. So, right, that's right here where we're reading. Answered clearly the issues presented in the first administrative regional judge notice and demand is the stated function of this officer of the court. Do not fail to send your response to my attention. The proper response to the issues presented or the failure to respond will be noted no later than 30 calendar days from the date of this letter is received by you. This is our final offer in the exhaustion of the administrative process for your organization to respond in a notice to cure. Sign and seal in red ink on the land of Texas, seal of the officer of the court, Chief Justice, Robertson County.
Glenn, as a juror society or the Republic of Texas, court procedures, what do you follow?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you've got, in statutory courts, you've got court procedures. Does the Juror Society or the Republic of Texas have anything like that, or?
Not really. Not really. It's common law.
Okay, yeah.
We can do whatever we want.
Right.
We just have guidelines, basically. I mean, as far as a grand jury, certain things, have to be done. You can get the documents. I can send you the documents that are the procedures. It's not like it's a rocket science.
Yeah,
it's common law.
Yeah.
So you've had numerous grand juries convened. Has anybody tried this in the grand juries?
I wouldn't say numerous.
Okay.
but there has been some. I don't know if anybody's ever collected. I don't follow that stuff.
How about criminal actions?
Well, I mean, I can tell you the one that the judge wouldn't reverse, right? I don't know if they collected. I don't follow them.
Does a common law jury have a right to issue an arrest warrant?
Yes.
And have you guys done that?
No, not that I know of.
Why?
Why don't you ask them?
I'm asking you. You're part of the. You're
I have
senator,
no
right?
idea why.
Okay, I'm just wondering because we keep saying
They find them.
common law.
They haven't found anything that required to be arrested, I guess.
Right, that would be a
Common law
logical
jurors
conclusion.
have a great
There's not
power
that many cases that
of
make it
arrest.
to common law juries because we have the same problem that you have, is that people don't want to participate.
Mhm.
And so we convene them when we can, and usually what they do is it's a fine or something.
Does a common law jury have a right to deal with a U.S. citizen situation, with the fictitious name entity with this body person?
Actually, what it comes down to at common law is if they falsely arrested you, I don't care what their reasoning was. If they thought you were a Roman cult Sesticate trust, I don't really care. It's false arrest.
Right, because of the body.
And it's kidnapping, and it's false imprisonment.
Right.
That's all.
We used to do training on
It's cut to the chase.
golden rules.
Right?
You
I don't
do
care.
no harm.
I don't care what your reason was. It's immaterial.
Glenn?
Huh?
Based on the golden rules that I used to teach was do no harm, cause no loss or damage,
Right.
and be honourable in your contracts. That's the common law jural
Right. Right.
situation.
Right.
That's
So
that's what goes before that
the
court.
it doesn't matter about the citizen and all that stuff is immaterial. They don't care, and they shouldn't care. We know that that's what they're doing, and we're doing this. What we're doing is we're trying to defeat all of that stuff.
Right.
But if their judge and their so-called court wants to perjure his oath, well, that's breach of trust. Okay, that's a felony. And so we just find them, and we got to train the county sheriffs.
Right.
And so then we got to have a jail to put them in if we do arrest them.
I have a
So
question for you.
we don't have any jails.
Would
You know,
they have,
if we can get them to use their jail, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure.
So we need to again train our county sheriff, right? Just like you guys need to train yours.
Well, you got trees and ropes, right?
Well, that's true. And I think what'll happen is, let's face it, we're on the learning curve, like everybody is. And so right now we'll probably be handing out some fines. And as more and more juries start convening and we start seeing results, then there'll be more and more people doing it. And at some point, some jury is going to say, well, we ought to stretch this guy's neck. And so that'll be the order. And so then that'll be the test too. You see what I'm saying? So how are they going to react to that? You see what I'm saying?
Will that be the first judge?
I'd like to see it be a judge.
No, Bill Clinton. That'll be big news.
Well, and these cops, like these Lake Worth pigs, they were operating as third-party debt collectors when they assaulted me, because it was over at Capias.
Yeah.
Did somebody else want to say something over here? Did you?
oh, I wanted to say, would they have acted so criminally if I had done my corporate denial before?
Probably not. Probably would have. Probably would have. At common law, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're just trying to deal in their system
No,
with the
I'm talking
corporate
about
denial.
the pigs. Would they have
I know you're talking about the pigs. And they're just low intelligence pigs,
Yes.
right? And so it's got to come when you do the corporate denial and you serve it on their boss, then hopefully their boss is going to tell them, leave her alone. You know what I mean? Because they're just pigs. They don't have two brain cells up there. They hire people that don't have two brain cells. They look for people that don't have two brain cells. They want someone that's just going to do what they're told.
Giving notice can't hurt, and it could help.
It can't hurt, and it could help. He's 100% right. The key is to do it as far in advance as possible, and things will change. But again, the pigs themselves are just pigs.
Well, they want all college graduates now, which are totally have been brainwashed
Well,
to follow the system.
and the college that they go to is brainwashing, is what it
Exactly.
is.
So they just want brainwashed individuals
Right.
that'll goose step,
Right,
plain and
right.
simple.
Yeah, goose
And no
step
question.
is well said. Goose step.
Once you give notice as time goes on, do you have to give another notice? You know what I mean? If all these people have, you know, it's been 10 years or whatever, or only if that situation persists, you would give another notice?
Well, hopefully
You know what I
they.
mean? I moved to a new state. I got to notice everybody in the whole state.
Well, that's a lot why I've sent out thousands,
Right.
quite frankly,
Right.
because
So
I
anytime's
travel a
been
lot.
noticed.
I travel a lot, but you know, I can't afford it anymore,
Right.
and so I don't send them out like I used to, and that's why I like Boris's stuff, because I'm going to be trying his stuff for sure.
Right.
I mean, where's your certificate of registration as a peace officer? I mean, that's going to be.
Is that a crime?
I
not
guarantee
to-
you, the
is
next
that a-
time I get stopped, I'm going to be asking that.
Is that a crime for
Well,
them
they
not to
squeezed me
produce
hard
it?
because I was actually asking them that question, because even the judge, I asked her for her oath of office, she didn't have it, and she was insulted from
Well, the
asking for
oath
that.
of office, you're right. A lot of them don't, but the certificate of registration as a peace officer, I'd definitely be bringing that up.
But it's not mandatory in every state. It's not a mandatory.
Well, I don't know.
It's
Is
not-
it or
I
isn't
looked
it?
it up, I researched it last night.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's not mandatory in every state.
Which
state?
And in fact, I can send you the link, because there's a lot of information about it.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
oath of
yeah.
Tons of
office?
pages about it.
You're talking about for oath of office?
The registration.
No, the certificate of registration as a peace
As a
officer.
peace officer. It's not required by all states, and it seems to be like they're now trying to catch up law enforcement on it. So it's like, to me, it came across as damage control. Because they're trying to like fill in, well, why are people asking us for this? So I'm going to go home and read it. That's my homework.
That's not what it indicated in the Farrah document, because I pulled that up when he was here.
I'm pretty sure that at least one in every jurisdiction's gotta be.
Well, I can tell you that in Texas,
Yeah,
there's in every county there's like about 5 cops that are authorized to stop people for traffic offenses. Every county, just 5. That's it. Most of them are operating illegally, and so matter of fact, Rice McLeod used to talk about that, because he used to say, "Are you one of the 5?" And you know, when the cops stopped him, and that's still the case. I think that they, that's interesting that she's saying that, and so now I'm going to have to check it too. But I guess we'll see. Anyways, let's keep moving. This is the proof of service.
You know why? Because in some jurisdictions, according to their rules and that definition of jurisdiction, just to be clear, a peace officer is known as a law enforcement officer.
Right.
So that's how they skate around that.
Just
It's
change the
wordplay.
name.
Yeah,
It's wordplay.
but a law enforcement officer is completely different than a
And
police
some
officer.
prison guards are allowed to become peace officers.
Yeah, that's
which I
true.
thought was very interesting.
That's true. Anyways, this is the certificate of non-response. You can't see it across the top, but it is there. And this is also signed and sealed by the chief judge. Still can't see it. It's up there hidden. It's off the edge. It's on my computer, but you can't see it. Anyways, notice Republic is not capitalized, because in the original document it wasn't capitalized. In that original Republic of Texas Constitution. Anyways, it says, see, on this certificate of non-response, I actually served 4 of them. And it says, the undersigned Henry Norman House of Sewell, as an ex officio notary public and an officer of the court for the Republic of Texas, hereby certifies that as of this date, November 15th in the year 2008, let's go back, 23rd of September, so it's well past 30 days.
Right.
2008, the undersigned has received no correspondence for Glenn Winningham House of Fern from any of the parties listed below, pertaining to, and it is a list of the documents that were served on them. And Jim Jordan, Dallas County Administrative District Judge; Craig Watkins, Dallas County District Attorney; Lupe Vallis, Dallas County Sheriff; John Ovard, the Administrative Judge First Administrative Region. So there's 4 people that were served on this. As received, as confirmed by the USPS website, copies of which are attached here too, and incorporated herein by reference in its entirety. See, I prepared all of this. All he had to do was sign it and seal it. The undersigned affirms under penalties of perjury that the foregoing is true, correct, complete, and in accordance with the undersigned's best first-hand knowledge and belief. And I also have a document log. And that's what this is. So, like I said, I served a bunch of these things.
That's the notary's document log or yours?
That's the notary's.
That's
See,
the
he
notary.
signs it at the bottom,
Right, right. Okay.
saying that he's certifying this is true.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No response. Date mailed, the action date. No response. And there's a close-up view. I don't know if you can see it any better.
You try Control Plus, it might increase it all the, further in.
Why, you still want to see it closer?
It's kind of hard to see from here.
No, it doesn't work because it's in a PowerPoint.
Okay.
But if you want, you can get the PDF file. The PDF file's in the Yahoo group. I'll email it to you for that matter. Plus, the Excel file. That's an Excel file. That Excel file is in the Yahoo group and the files directory, so you can download it and use it. Check out my other videos: Bankster Thieves 1 through 3, Roman Cult Slave Scam Series, Bankrupt Corporate So-Called Governments, Bar Members 1 through 4, Do-It-Yourself How Not to Volunteer for the Selective Service in the Draft, Martial Laws Here, Do-It-Yourself No Income Tax, Do-It-Yourself No Sales Tax, Do-It-Yourself Traffic Stop 1 through 4 now, Do-It-Yourself Free Mail, Do-It-Yourself Kangaroo Courts 1 through 15 now. So it says, I, Henry Norman, House of Sewell, as an ex officio notary public and officer of the court, do hereby certify that I have witnessed the contents pertaining to this letter, and I personally delivered it to the post office and handed it to the clerk to be served by registered mail on this day of September in the year of our Lord 2008. Notice the date, the numbers are spelled out. They're not, and ideally the 23rd that was written out that way probably should have been spelled out. Okay, at common law, they're always spelled out. The letter or document identified by, and this is a list of all the documents that were served. We already read all that stuff. All responses by the Dallas County Administrative District Judge must be mailed to my attention at 6340 Lake Worth Boulevard, number 131, Fort Worth, Texas. To ensure proper receipt of response, documentation of the Dallas County Administrative District Judge response to this officer of the court as a third-party witness is imperative, confirming the receipt of the response in the proper time required and that the response answered clearly the issues presented in the Dallas County Administrative. None of them responded.
Right.
As expected.
Yeah. Well, if they did, they'd give evidence against themselves. Either that or they beg forgiveness. You know, it's one or the other. My blog is sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email address is engineerwin@yahoo.com. My YouTube profile is Sovereign Living. My Facebook community page is deleted because of censorship on the part of Facebook. I deleted it. My private group at Facebook called Sovereignty International is being deleted. And I have a Yahoo private group and Google private group called Administering Your Public Servants. The undersigned Henry Norman, House of Sewell, an ex officio notary public and officer of the court. See, that's where it's really nice to have some de jure officers of the court available to do things for you. For the Republic of Texas, hereby certifies that as of this date, in the year 2008, the undersigned has received no correspondence for Glenn Whittingham, House of Fern, from any of the parties listed below pertaining to, and it's got the list of documents that I served on them. And there's the list of people that was served on by registered mail and received and confirmed by USPS website, copies of which are attached here to and incorporated herein by reference in their entirety. The undersigned affirms under penalties of perjury that the foregoing is true, correct, complete, and in accordance with the undersigned's best first-hand knowledge and belief. And that's it. It's pretty short. But that's how to do a nil judgment, a nil dicit judgment. Okay? You serve it on them with a third-party witness. Now, some people do first notice, second notice, and that administrative procedure is going to be the next one we'll do tomorrow. Okay, and I'll go through an administrative procedure that the guy in prison got himself out of prison, got 17 other people out of prison, and then collected on the bonds of about 40 government officials, including prison guards.
We're doing what?
I don't know. You'd have to read his criminal complaint. I mean, I don't have it.
So you said that was nil judgment?
Nil dicit judgment. That's make your own judgment. If you use a notary, third-party witness, officer of the court, they can't say that they never got it.
And it automatically proceeds to judgment.
If they don't respond.
It's basically, if they don't respond, that's the end of it.
That's right.
It's the default.
Sign
You
it
gotta
off.
defeat
The
your
default.
resolutions.
That's right. That's right.
And that then, you could proceed to filing it on the record.
File a lawsuit, yep.
And file a lawsuit
Has
to recover the judge.
Well, they don't say anything there about damages, and that was just a notice and demand. So you're just telling them, I'm the king, and you don't have any authority over me. Basically, is what the notice and demand says, and that's all it was, among other things. But it's just, and so
They never rebut it.
they never rebutted it.
So how does it? Okay.
So it's true.
So if there's ever any issues with them, between them and me,
So it's just to strengthen the notice and demand.
it's going to make it so they can't talk to me. Okay? In other words, if I get drug into court in Dallas, they're going to have a problem. I've never had any problem in Dallas, quite frankly. I've had some problem in Fort Worth. Actually, I'm thinking I'm building a case against them for racketeering in Fort Worth and Azle and Lake Worth and that kind of stuff. That's all in Fort Worth area.
So for anyone who's planning on returning to Ocean City, should they notice and
You
demand
could,
it?
you could,
Should they
and that would actually be good to, if
file-
you were coming back to send, well, you could use that or just send them a notice and demand. Actually, I'd just send them a notice and demand by registered mail to the chief of police.
Right, basically it puts, pins or knives out to protect
It makes it so that they're walking on pins and needles.
And that's what, in this town, I don't know, other places for sure, but you need it if you're gonna visit.
Right. So, but I like what Boris does too. Boris has got some great ideas.
He does.
So I want to find out if it's what states that certificate of is valid in now. Now she's got my curiosity.
Oh, and some people were not there last night.
I'm still looking it up too.
The next scheduled Northeast Coast private information share is scheduled for May 1st.
May 1st.
Well, that's the week. The week will begin in May 1st till the May the 8th, but
Right,
the
it'll
weekend
right,
will be.
right. It'll be the 3rd to the 7th,
Wait a
probably.
minute, isn't May 1st Communist Day?
May
May Day, I can't work, I can't come on that day.
Bring a communist.
It doesn't start until the 3rd.
Roast.
Well, why wouldn't it be?
You can arrive earlier.
All the communists will be
Yeah,
out at that day.
next time, we're gonna let you come as early as Tuesday, because, even just, people arrive on Wednesday, they go play on Thursday, and then we start, so it's still some strain.
So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday the 6th. So the 3rd through the 6th are the days that we'll be doing presentations. You can come as early as the 1st, and he was talking about actually allowing people to come on the 30th even, right?
Correct. Yeah, we
So-
wanna bless you
so
and
that's-
have you guys bring people, and, you're rested, because
Yeah.
I'm still in pain from the first one.
You're just trying to bring commerce to your neighbors.
It's a benefit, but that is not at all.
Okay.
We're here to And you can let folks, come early with you or arrive, let them only, even if they want to just do the weekend like someone did. Matthew just showed up for less time, but it's here.